Hey YouTube, welcome back to the blue set review for Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. We're going to start off with Acquisition Octopus. Acquisition Octopus is 2 and a blue for an artifact creature equipment octopus at uncommon. It's 2/2. Whenever Acquisition Octopus or equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So it's 2/2 for 3 that if it hits, draws a card, but you can reconfigure it for 2, so you can give a flyer or an unblockable creature the ability to draw cards. Pretty cool. Seems fine. Reminds me of Catgeist, which did nothing in Crimson Vow. Was actively bad, I think, in Crimson Vow. Hopefully this one's a little bit better. It reminds me of the Otter as well from Ikoria. Hopefully it's better. Let's put it around the 5th-ish pick range. Otter also wasn't that amazing, so I worry about this one as well. The fact that it's like Bestow, the fact that even if they kill the thing, it comes back, probably just makes this one much better. So let's go 4th, 5th pick for Acquisition Octopus. I would really love if this was actually good. Up next is Anchor to Reality. Anchor to Reality is 2 blue for a sorcery at uncommon. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sack an artifact or creature. Search your library for an equipment or vehicle card, put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle. If it has mana value less than the sacrificed permanent's mana value, scry 2. So 4 mana to sack a creature or an artifact, and you go and get an equipment or a vehicle. What is the flavor here? What are they sacrificing? And what vehicle and equipment are they getting? Now, I didn't read the story, but I don't feel like the flavor here makes any sense. I don't think this is very good. Like, you have to have a very specific bomby piece of equipment or a very specific bomby vehicle for you to want to play this card and pay 4 mana and also sacrifice something. So I'm not into this. I can't imagine I'm playing this. I'm going to start this out at an F. There's so many requirements for this to actually be any good that I'm super out on it. Up next is Armguard Familiar. Armguard Familiar is 1 and a blue for an artifact creature equipment beast at common. It's a 2/1 with ward 2. It's got reconfigure for 4. The equipped creature gets +2/+1 and has ward 2. Remember Pikers? This is a common 2/1 for 2 that also has ward 2 for some reason and can be jammed onto something else to give it +2/+1. Also, this moonfolk here looks like they're having the time of their life. They look so happy. Yeah, this is just a fine filler card. If you're looking for artifacts, if you're looking for modifying stuff, if you're looking for whatever, this is totally okay. It probably is still about as filler as a piker, though. We're talking like 8th pick, wheel. It's fine, but it's not blowing my mind. It's blowing my mind that we used to pay 1 and a color for a 2/1, and that was it at common. And now this is 1 and a color for a 2/1 at common. And even with all of the other stuff, I'm like, this is not really good. Because way back when, 2 and a color, 2/1 for 1 and a color was like, okay. Anyways, up next we have Awakened Awareness. Awakened Awareness is X blue for an enchantment aura at uncommon. Enchant artifact or creature. When Awakened Awareness enters the battlefield, put X +1/+1 counters on Enchanted Permanent. As long as Enchanted Permanent is a creature, it has base power and toughness 1/1. So this is removal, right? This is removal that has a slight versatility of maybe upgrading your creature. Because what you do is you pay blue. You put this on their 8/8, and now their 8/8's a 1/1. Got him. Or, you just, things are going awesome. Things are going great. They don't even have anything worth removing. So you have a 2/2, you pay like 4 blue, and now your 2/2 is a 5/5. That's some cool versatility, but this is removal. This is decent enough removal. Again, blah, 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 pacifism's not very good. The thing that turns something into a frog is not very good because they still have their 1/1. It's a 1/1. As long as I'm killing something worthwhile, I am very happy to kill it. Still, I'll put this in like the 4th-ish range. I would prefer a lot of other removal over this one, but I'll go 4th-ish for Awakened Awareness. Up next is Behold the Unspeakable. Behold the Unspeakable is 3 blue for an Enchantment Saga at uncommon. Step 1, creatures you don't control get -2/-0 until end of turn. Cool. Step 2, if you have 1 or fewer cards in your hand, draw 4. Otherwise, scry 2, then draw 2. Cool. That's a lot of cards. Step 3, get a 0/0 enchantment creature spirit with flying and trample, and it gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand. So probably 4. My only concern here is we're playing limited. Your hands are eventually going to run out, and this thing's just going to get weaker and weaker. That said, a 4/4 Flample. Maybe you just stop casting stuff, huh? Stop casting stuff until they deal with this, and if they don't deal with this, they die. This card seems great. I'm very surprised this is uncommon, if I'm honest. This reads rare. Step 2 especially makes this read rare to me. Yeah, I'll pick this real high. Real high. Like second, third? I'll go 2nd, 3rd on Behold the Unspeakable. I'm kind of surprised this is not a rare. Up next is Covert Technician. Covert Technician is 2 and a blue for an artifact creature human ninja at uncommon. It's a 2/4 with ninjutsu for 1 and a blue. Whenever Covert Technician deals combat damage to a player, you may put an artifact card with mana value less than or equal to that damage from your hand onto the battlefield. Artifact card. Base 2 or less with mana value less than or equal to. Okay, cool. As long as you have artifacts that are on the lower-ish end, because again, you know, yes, you might have the Lord, which would make this 3, but it's still just 3. You're probably not ever putting down like a 5-cost artifact because you hit with this thing. Yeah, I think this is cool. I like kind of everything going on with this. 3 mana for a 2/4 as well. Yeah, I like everything about this card. It's good. It's not a bomb. It's not going over removal. It's not like blowing my mind, but it's in like the 5th-ish range. I like it. I think it's good. Up next is Discover the Impossible. Discover the Impossible is 2 and a blue for an instant at uncommon. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. Exile 1 of them face down. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You can cast the exiled one without paying its mana cost if it's an instant spell with mana value 2 or less. If you don't put the card into your hand. What? Without paying its mana cost. Goblet, thanks for that follow. Okay. So if you exile a cheap instant, you save the whopping 1 or 2 mana. Oh boy. Otherwise, this is 3 mana, draw a card from the top 5? This feels like it's in the wrong set. This feels like it should be in a set with a blue-red spells deck. Like 3 mana to draw a card, even with selection, isn't blowing my mind. I guess that's not awful. But this feels like it should be in a blue-red spells deck, and we don't have a blue-red spells deck. And it's uncommon. It might be uncommon just because it's so confusing to read. Yeah, I don't think this is very good. I don't think this is something that I'm super stoked on. I would expect to wheel this card, and I think that I will have a rough time finding a spot for this card. That's just, it's an entire card for 1 card. And 3 mana. Yeah, I'll wheel this. I'm not a huge fan of this right now. We'll see. Up next is Disruption Protocol. Disruption Protocol is blue for an instant at common. As an additional cost to cast this spell, tap an untapped artifact you control or pay 1, counter target spell. Here's cancel. Cancel is never great. Cancel is rarely playable. The fact that this is sometimes counterspell also doesn't make it terribly playable in limited. Like, counterspells are very rough in limited because you have to have them at the exact second, and if you don't, it is far too late. So there's a reason this is at common, and that's that it's probably just not very impactful. I think you can wheel this pretty dang easily. Up next is Essence Capture. Essence Capture is blue for an instant at uncommon. Counter target creature spell. Put a +1/+1 counter on up to one target creature you control. Now, it's important to keep in mind that counter spells can be pretty good and limited. But they are typically counter spells that specifically target creature and therefore are discounted. So in this case, this one is always 2 mana, whereas this one is not always 2 mana. Being always 2 mana is better. Still not amazing, but it's given us a +1/+1 counter, which just gives us a little bit more extra. Essence Capture was okay when we saw it in whatever set we saw it in. It'll probably be okay here. There's a reason that this one is uncommon, whereas this one is common. That should be your hint as to which one is better. This one is better. It's still not a super high pick. We're talking 6th through 8th pick range, and you need to be blue. You know, you need to make sure that holding up blue is not going to be a hard thing for you. But yeah, 6th through 8th pick for Essence Capture. We know this card. We've played this card before. Up next is Futurist Operative. Futurist Operative is 3 and a blue for a creature human ninja at uncommon. It's a 3/4. As long as Futurist Operative is tapped, it's a human citizen with base power and toughness 1/1 and can't be blocked, because it would be attacking. 2 and a blue, untap Futurist Operative. Ravnica Allegiance had Essence Capture. So 4 mana 3/4 that briefly will be a 1/1 that cannot be blocked, which then allows you to easily ninjutsu something. If you're not ninjutsuing something and you've got the mana and you want to, pay 3 mana, untap during blocks, and haha! Now it's a 3/4. Surprise! It wasn't a human citizen at all. This seems fun. This is a way to enable ninjutsu. This is a way to just get in 3 unblockable damage. Like this kind of reminds me almost of Passwall Adept from Guilds of Ravnica. Like, this is unblockable, 3 damage a turn for 3 mana. That's going to do some work by itself. I think this card's pretty good. I think it's in like the 4th, 5th range. I think it enables ninjutsu, and I would even play this outside of like a heavily ninjutsu deck, just because unblockable 3 damage for 3 mana is not that bad. Up next is Futurist Sentinel. Futurist Sentinel is 3 and a blue for an artifact creature at common. It's a 6/6 with crew 3. Extreme filler for the blue-white vehicles deck. Crew 3 is a lot. You basically need to be using a pilot to crew this. 6/6 is big, but it doesn't have trample, it doesn't have flying, it doesn't have anything else. And we've seen something very similar to this. I can't remember what it was in Kaladesh, but it was a 5/5 or a 6/6 or something, and it crew 3, I think. I think it was the monster truck looking thing, and it was not good. And this one is probably not that good either. If you're desperate for a vehicle and you have ways of crewing this cheating somehow due to pilot effects, then maybe, but you can probably wheel this. Up next is Goshintai of Lost Wisdom. Goshintai of Lost Wisdom is 1 and a blue for a legendary enchantment creature shrine at uncommon. It's an 0/4 flyer. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1. When you do, target player mills X cards, where X is the number of shrines you control. This one's slightly more playable because it's an 0/4 flyer for 2. You probably shouldn't be playing 0/4s for 2 just to block. If your plan is, well, I'm going to block, you're probably not winning the game, because you don't win the game by blocking. You win the game by killing your opponent. It is a ludicrously slow mill game, and you're just not going to do the shrine thing. I hate to burst the bubble, but 99% of the time that you try, you're not going to do the shrine thing. 1% of the time you will, and it'll be awesome. Have fun. 99% of the time you won't. So I'm not terribly interested in this card. I will wheel this and I will play it as a dumb 0-4 wall if I have to, or if I have some plan that is like, oh god, oh god, oh god, I need to hold on to turn 5. Just let me get to turn 5. If that's the case, maybe this is playable, but otherwise, Ninjutsu. Oh, I guess you can attack with it. I still think there's just way, 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 way better ways of attacking and getting your ninjutsu off, such as Futurist Operative. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that. I cannot stop anyone from drafting 5-color shrines. I can warn against it, but I don't yet have the power to stop it. Up next is Guardians of Oboro. Guardians of Oboro is 2 and a blue for a creature Moonfolk Samurai at common. It's a 3/4 defender. Modified creatures you control can attack as though they didn't have defender. That's cute. That's cute. 3/4 for 3 defender. That is a heck of a defender. And if this picks up an equipment or gets a counter or anything, you've got like a 4/5 for 3 and whatever you paid to modify it. Realistically, this is only referring to itself. I don't think you're drafting the Defender deck, right? I think. So really, this is just talking about itself. And I think it's totally fine. Now, the modified deck, is the modified deck blue? Isn't the modified deck red-green? I wonder if maybe this doesn't quite have a home. Because, like, I'm not drafting this card, putting it into my blue-black ninjutsu deck, and then grabbing an equipment because I'm like, well, I'll play this equipment that I don't really want to play because if I draw my Guardians of Oboro, then I've got a vanilla 4/5 or a vanilla 3/4, depending on what the equipment is. This might not have a home, and this might be why it's a common. I'll keep an eye on it, but I suspect this is a bit of a trap. Let's put it at wheel. Also, we'll ask why it looks like there's a Zendikar land thing in behind it. Yeah, let's put this on wheel. This should be green, right? This should be green, or this should be probably not red. This should be green. Weird. Up next is Inventive Iteration. Inventive Iteration is 3 and a blue. It could be an essence capture target, but so could every other creature that exists, right? Up next is Inventive Iteration. Inventive Iteration is 3 and a blue for a rare Enchantment Saga. Step 1, return up to 1 target creature or planeswalker to its owner's hand. Okay. Step 2, return an artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. If you can't, draw a card. Okay, I like the fail case there. And then, it's a 3/3 flying enchantment creature, Moonfolk. Whenever you cast a spell, your opponents can't cast spells with the same mana value as that spell until your next turn. That's not a... That will very randomly be annoying and frequently just not be like a problem. Yeah. This one feels rare. Behold the Unspeakable. This one feels uncommon. So we've got a very expensive sorcery speed bounce spell. And then draw a card. And then we get a 3/3 flyer. Like, this is all fine, but this is not the rare that I want to open. This is like 4th, 5th pick. It's good. You'll play it. You'll pick it. But I think it's like 4th, 5th pick. I feel like this and Behold the Unspeakable should be flipped in rarities. Up next is Invoke the Winds. Invoke the Winds is 1 blue for a sorcery at rare. Gain control of target artifact or creature, untap it. Here is a spell that I will happily play 1 color for. Yeah. Mind controlling a thing is very good. Very, 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 very good. Again, just like the white one, make sure you're blue. You probably maybe don't play this if you're playing 9 islands. Certainly not if you're playing 8. You want to be playing 10, 11 islands to play this. And you want to be playing this. So go blue, go heavy blue. I will first pick this, and I will jump into blue for a mind control anytime, any day. Up next is, oh my, Jin-Gitaxias. Jin-Gitaxias. Has it always been Jin-Gitaxias? I've always said Jin-Gitaxias. Weird. Progress Tyrant. Jin-Gitaxias is 5 blue for a legendary creature Phyrexian Praetor. At Mythic, it's a 5/5. Whenever you cast an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. This ability triggers only once each turn. Whenever an opponent casts an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, counter that spell. This ability triggers only once each turn. This card's really good. It's 7 mana, which is pretty pricey. You need to make sure you're going to be able to cast this somehow. You need to make sure you're living till turn 7. Maybe you want an 0/4 blocker, for example. But yeah, if you're copying every instant or sorcery and artifacts, which would include artifact creatures, that's real good. And if your opponent can't cast artifacts, instants, or sorceries, that's pretty dang good as well. This card seems really good. I will first pick this. Unless this format turns out to be one of the most aggressive ever made, in which case it's too expensive to cast. But odds are it's just going to be very, very, very good. First pick for Jin-Gitaxias. Up next is Kyrie the Swirling Sky. Kyrie the Swirling Sky is 4 blue for a legendary creature Dragon Spirit. At Mythic, it's a 6/6 with flying and ward 3. When Kyrie the Swirling Sky dies, choose one. Return any number of target non-land permanents with total mana value 6 or less to their owner's hand. Or mill 6 cards, then return up to 2 instant and/or sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand. It's a 6/6 flying ward 3. You're first picking it. When it dies, depending on what's in your graveyard already and the makeup, I think you're probably picking the first one the vast majority of the time, just to like disrupt your opponent's board a little bit. These two abilities aren't quite as nuts, I think, as the Oops Citadel Siege on everything that the white one has. But again, we're talking about a 6/6 flying ward 3 for 6. You're first picking it. Why are there Phyrexians in your Kamigawa? Because they're turning planeswalkers into Phyrexians. That's why Tameo got. Up next is March of Swirling Mist. March of Swirling Mist is X and a blue for an instant at rare. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may exile any number of blue cards from your hand. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled this way. Up to X target creatures phase out. Okay. This is going to win some games. This is going to do sort of a like a sleep imitation. Like end of their turn, they've got 5 blockers. Cool. 6 mana. You have no blockers. Getcha. Now it's not quite sleep because you only get 1 turn to do that. But yeah, this is just going to win some games and has the versatility of protecting your stuff if need be, things like that. I think this is a good card. It's not a bomb. And you need to be playing like a semi-aggressive deck in which you are attacking and can get them to a low enough life total that destroying their board for a turn wins the game. And you need to win the game when you play this. Like, you need to win the game. I don't know. Is it like, I think I'm on like 4th-ish pick for this, 3rd-ish, 4th-ish pick. It's got a lot of versatility. There's a lot of things that it can do. You could fog attackers as well. There's a bunch of stuff you could do with this. It's going to be very versatile, and it is just going to win some games. That said, it's not a crazy bomb. You have to have a board. You have to have a lot of stuff going on for it to work. But it's not like niche case it works. It's like you played some creatures and dealt some damage through the game, which, if that's not part of your game plan every single game you play, you might need to refresh on how to play Magic. So yeah, let's go third, fourth pick for March of Swirling Mist. Up next is Mindilink Mech. Mindilink Mech looks absolutely straight out of an anime. 2 and a blue for an artifact vehicle at rare. It's 4/3 flyer, crew 1. Talked about crew 1. Whenever Mindilink Mech becomes crewed for the first time each turn, until end of turn, Mindilink Mech becomes a copy of target non-legendary creature that crewed it this turn. Except it's a 4/3, it's a vehicle artifact in addition to its other types, and it has flying. Holy moly, this is a case of like, Arena will do it for you. So it's a 4/3 flyer with crew 1, and whatever we crew it with, it gets the rules text, essentially, because the stats don't matter. So interestingly, you don't want to be crewing this with pilots. You want to be crewing this with, like, samurais, I guess? Or something that has, like, a cool on-attack effect or has lifelink or something like that. Still, a lot of cool versatility here, and worst case scenario, oh no, it's a 4/3 flyer for crew 1. That's very good. That's very, very, very good. No, this is the reverse of Puppeteer, because this becomes a copy of whatever crewed it. On hit ninjas, yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff you could do with this. Easy first pick. I think this is a very good card. I'll play it in every blue deck. Vehicles deck will probably be pretty happy with it. Ninjutsu deck will probably be pretty happy with it. Good card. Good card's good. First pick it. Up next is Mirrorshell Crab. Mirrorshell Crab is 5 blue for an artifact creature crab at common. It's a 5/7 with ward 3. It's got channel for 2 and a blue. Discard Mirrorshell Crab, counter target spell or ability unless its controller pays 3. This card's not great. Gigantic Crab with ward 3 is a thing we've seen before. Yeah, it's sometimes annoying, but typically the situations where it's annoying is because you probably stumbled on land or something and didn't hold your own, and now there's an annoying crab. This costs a lot of mana. It has no evasion. Ward 3 late in the game is not that big of a deal. The fact that it has the versatility of being a mana leak is cute, but I don't know that I'm ever putting this in my deck. Like, hard wheel on Mirrorshell Crab, and it's going to be a hard sell for me to play this. Up next is Mnemonic Sphere. Mnemonic Sphere is 1 and a blue for an artifact at common. Pay 1 and a blue and sack it to draw 2 cards. Channel, single blue, discard it, draw a card. So it's a 4 mana divination. And prior to divinating, it's an artifact, should that matter. Okay. Okay. I think I need a reason to play this. I think I need a reason to have artifacts. This needs to do, like, one more thing for me. This needs to, like, trigger when you have an artifact and an enchantment or something. This needs to do, like, one more thing for me to always play it. But I think part of that is, like, modern limited Magic, where divination, like, taking a turn off, and I guess maybe that's the upside. You don't have to take a turn off, probably, to draw your 2 cards off of this. Mech Titan fodder. There we go. There's my reason. There's my one extra thing. Now the thing is, I don't get to draw my cards off of it, right? Or no, I would not. I'll probably start out playing this just because I would love to have a format where divination is good again. I don't think divination's been good for a while. Yeah, so I'll start out. I think we're picking it 6th through 8th. Emphasis on the 8th. I'm going to start main decking it, hopeful that just drawing cards will feel good again. and probably get stomped by like 10/10 lifelink flyers or something instead. Up next is Mobilizer Mech. Mobilizer Mech is 1 and a blue for an artifact vehicle at uncommon. It's a 3/4 flyer. Whenever Mobilizer Mech becomes crewed, up to one other target vehicle you control becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. Crew 3. So 3/4 flyer, crew 3, little bit expensive. You probably want to be crewing that with a pilot. But another vehicle gets crewed. Pretty sure this is exclusively a blue-white card. Maybe black-white if you're doing piloty things, but I think this is pretty much a blue-white card, and in the blue-white deck, you're probably going to be pretty happy with it. You really want to have another vehicle with this, and if you do, I think it's going to probably be pretty good. Can you imagine if you have, whenever it becomes crewed, if you have 2 of these, you have a 6/8 flying in the air. Unfortunately, the second one doesn't become crewed, so it doesn't just like create a chain. But yeah, I think in the right deck, this will be pretty good. Crew 3 is a little bit expensive, so I definitely want to be having pilots, which means I think this is in like the 5th-ish pick range, 6th-ish pick range, and it'll go up pack 3, pack 4 when I'm in the blue-white piloty vehicle deck. Up next is the Modern Age. The Modern Age is 1 and a blue for an Enchantment Saga at common. Step 1 and Step 2, draw a card and then discard a card. So loot, and then you get a 2/3 enchantment creature spirit with flying. Extremely filler, but fine. Like, I like looting. I like looting twice. I like a 2/3 flyer. It's all fine. It's all fine, but you can pick it very late, like 8th pick, maybe even on the wheel. If you don't get one, I think you're pretty okay. So, totally fine. Up next is Moon Circuit Hacker. Moon Circuit Hacker is 1 and a blue for an enchantment creature human ninja at common. It's a 2/1 with ninjutsu for a single blue. Whenever Moon Circuit Hacker deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card unless Moon Circuit Hacker entered the battlefield this turn. So ninjutsu, 2/1 draw a card on damage. And then it becomes a looter. A looter Ilkor? Was that looting on combat damage? I think it was. Yeah, good card's good. This is going to be like a very serviceable... This is going to be a meat and potatoes card for the ninjutsu deck, right? You are going to be very happy to have a couple of these. They're going to do what they do. They're not winning you the game, but they are making the deck stick together. You can pick them relatively late. We're talking 6th through 8th pick, maybe even wheel in pack 1. But you are not unhappy to play these. These are going to make your deck stick together. Up next is Moonfolk Puzzlemaker. Moonfolk Puzzlemaker is 2 and a blue for an artifact creature Moonfolk Wizard at common. It's a 1/4 flyer. Whenever Moonfolk Puzzlemaker becomes tapped, scry 1. So it's a 3-mana 1/4 flyer that scries 1 on attacks, probably. It's an artifact. We have seen a few reasons that you want to tap artifacts, or at least one reason I recall. This seems like one of those cards that is pretty filler for a reason. You know, it's like, I need an artifact creature. Here's a Moonfolk Puzzlemaker. I need a flyer. Here's a Moonfolk Puzzlemaker. I need this. Here's a Moonfolk Puzzlemaker. There's probably just better versions of everything that you want this card to do, but the card is totally serviceable as is. We're talking 8th-ish pick. I don't think this is the A plan of anything. I think this is like the B or the C plan. And it's not a bad plan, but it exists. Yeah, better version of the shrine, basically. Up next is Moonsnare Prototype. Moonsnare Prototype is a single blue mana for an artifact at common. Tap an untapped artifact or creature you control to add a colorless mana. Channel, 4 and a blue, discard Moonsnare Prototype. The owner of target non-land permanent puts it on the top or bottom of their library. Yeah, this does do something with the sphere. It doesn't do much with the sphere, but it does something with the sphere. I don't like this card. This seems deeply mediocre to me. I'm not looking to ramp by tapping 2 permanents on my battlefield to get a colorless mana. I'm not looking to pay 4 mana. 4 mana Griptide's not... Or 5 mana. 5 mana Griptide. That's quite a bit. You can pick this card really late. I'm going to say on the wheel. I don't know that I'll ever play it. If I need an artifact or something, I guess. Up next is Moonsnare Specialist. Moonsnare Specialist is 3 and a blue. For a creature, human, ninja, a common. It's a 2/2 with ninjutsu, 2 and a blue. When Moonsnare Specialist enters the battlefield, return up to 1 target creature to its owner's hand. So you probably want to ninjutsu this, because a 4 mana 2/2 bounce kind of sucks, but a 3 mana 2/2 bounce that's also dealing 2 damage seems pretty decent to me. This is very filler. This is very much in the, hey, here's a ninja, it's got ninjutsu, it's going to do the thing kind of level. So we're talking 6th through 8th pick. You're probably not going to be terribly upset if you don't get one of these, and if you do get one, it'll probably make your ninjutsu deck. Yeah, Mana War, basically, if you're ninjutsuing. Unfortunately, we're just not in the era of Mana War being, like, what it used to be. Because, again, like, bouncing a ninjutsu to their hand, that sucks. Bouncing a thing with an ETB effect, that sucks. Bouncing modern cards is often dangerous these days. But yeah, I think this card's totally fine. 6th through 8th pick. You'll play it. Up next is Network Disruptor. Network Disruptor is a single blue mana for a 1/1 artifact creature Moonfolk Rogue at common. It's a flyer. When it ETBs, tap target permanent. No. I know people love their 1/1 flyers. I do not. 1/1 flyers are basically never worth it in almost all situations. I have no interest in playing this unless I am desperate for an artifact creature. And I think that's it. If I have the Ninja Rogue Lord, maybe, because this is a rogue. It is a ninjutsu enabler, but so is literally any other flyer. And any other flyer doesn't require that I have a ninjutsu card in my hand. Because if I don't have a ninjutsu card in my hand and I've got a 1/1 for 1, I wasted my time on this card. So I'm not into this card. I can't imagine playing this outside of some very niche cases. There's just better ways of enabling everything that this enables. So I'm out. Up next is Planar Incision. Planar Incision is 1 and a blue for an instant at common. Exile target artifact or creature, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter on it. This... What did Teferi's Time Twist do? This is Teferi's Time Twist, except it happens right away, yeah? Yeah, that's what this is. Is this Snakeskin Veil? This is like Snakeskin Veil ++, eh? Because you re-trigger your ETB effects and such. And you get your counter. Yeah, I like this. I like this as Snakeskin Veil, which means we're talking 8th pick wheel. Like, you're not spending a real pick on this. And, you know, it is in like the 23rd card spot. You're not saving a spot for this card usually. But I think it's pretty decent. It's going to do a very good Snakeskin Veil impression. And may even just be better. I guess it's not 1 mana, it's 2 mana. Was Snakeskin Veil? I think I can't remember. I don't care. None of it matters. Yeah, I'll play this card. I think this is pretty decent. Again, pretty decent. Don't spend a real pick on it. Up next is Prosperous Thief. Prosperous Thief is 2 and a blue for a creature human ninja at uncommon. It's a 3/2 with ninjutsu, 1 and a blue. Whenever 1 or more ninja or rogue creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. Okay. It's all good. I don't quite know why it's uncommon, but it's all good. Good card. Good card's good. This is, I don't know, like 5th, 6th pick range. It's not a bomb. It's not removal. It's not amazing. It's just good. It does what it does. Yeah, 5th through 6th pick range. Up next is the Reality Chip. The Reality Chip is 1 and a blue for a legendary artifact, creature, equipment, jellyfish. I love how idiotic that type line looks because they couldn't fit all the words. And so they had to shrink the font, and now it looks bad. It's a rare. It's an 0/4. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. Cool. As long as the Reality Chip is attached to a creature, you may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library, reconfigure for 2 and a blue. Cool. You increase your hand size by 1. You have a virtual additional card in your hand because you can play the card off the top of the library. That's cool. If you don't have something to attach this to, you've got an 0/4 artifact blocker. This is all good. This is not a bomb, but you'll still first pick it, and it will really help you out. First pick on the Reality Chip. I think it's pretty good. Any spell, any land, any card. Up next is Reality Heist. Reality Heist is 5 blue for an instant at uncommon. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each artifact you control. I would hope so. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may reveal up to 2 artifact cards from among them and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Top 7. So, I want to be playing a lot of artifacts, and I want to be playing so many artifacts that I make this cheaper and still have enough artifacts in my top 7 to get a couple more. You have to be very heavy artifacts for this card. Like, I'm talking, I don't know, I want a dozen at least. Because I don't want to pay 7 for this. I don't want to pay 6 for this. I don't want to pay 5 for this. I don't want to. I'll pay 4, assuming that I know that I'm going to get 2 artifacts off of it. Yeah, you need to be very artifact heavy for this card. You'll know the deck when you see it, and you're going to hope that you find this card in pack 3. Because in pack 1, I'm not touching this card. Pack 1, this is like a virtual F. No chance. And I'm not picking this to build around it. No. F in pack 1, and pack 3, you'll know if you want it. Replication Specialist is up next. Replication Specialist is 4 and a blue for a creature Moonfolk Artificer at uncommon. It's a 3/4 with flying. Whenever a non-token artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 1 and a blue. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that artifact. It's pretty cool. Just a 2-mana tax, eh? So 3/4 flyer for 5 is a little bit expensive. But then every artifact you can pay a 2-mana tax and get a second copy of it seems real good. I like this card a fair bit. I will pick this pretty highly. We're talking 4th, 5th? Yeah, 4th-ish pick for this. Obviously, you will then want to build around artifacts. This is where I want to build around artifacts, right? Like, give me this, and then let me cast the Mnemonic Sphere. 4 mana, get 2 spheres? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, I like this card. It's a build around. It's a build around that I want. Gimme. 4th pick. Up next is Saiba Trespassers. Saiba Trespassers is 4 and a blue for an artifact creature Moonfolk Rogue at common. It's a 3/5. It's got Channel for 3 and a blue. You can discard it to tap up to 2 target creatures you don't control. Those creatures don't untap during their controller's next untap step. This looks like exceptional filler. 3/5 for 5 is not where I'm at. There are better creatures you can get for 5 mana. There are better artifact creatures you can get. There are better rogues that you can get. Paying 4 mana to freeze 2 things is okay, but not often worth a card. put it all together, and it's still not really worth a card. Not for 5 mana. This is a hard wheel for me, and I'm going to be hard-pressed to actually put this into a deck. It might sneak in when I, like, really messed up and missed on playables, but otherwise, eh. Up next is Short Circuit. It would have been better if, like, Johnny 5 was on the card. Short Circuit is 1 and a blue for an enchantment aura at common. Flash, enchant artifact or creature as long as it's enchanted permanent. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets -3, -0, and loses flying. Cool. It's slime bind, basically. It's fine. It will remove small things. That's okay. You'll play this sometimes. You will not pick this very highly. But it's okay. It's like 8th pick, maybe 7th pick, maybe around there somewhere. It'll be okay. You'll be fine with it, but you're not going to go nuts. Up next is Skyswimmer Koi. Skyswimmer Koi is 3 and a blue for a creature fish at common. It's a 3/3 flyer. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. 3/3 flyer for 4. That's okay. As long as you're playing artifacts, you get to loot. Sure. This is fine. You're not going nuts for this. You'll put it in your vehicles deck especially. You'll put it in your deck that has a lot of artifact creatures. It will do the thing that it will do. It is not the card that you are desperately waiting for, but you'll play it. 6th through 8th pick for Skyswimmer Koi. Up next is Spell Pierce. Spell Pierce is a single blue mana for an instant at common. Counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 2. No. Spell Pierce is very rarely good in limited. 2 is just not that much. You'll get somebody here or there sometimes, maybe, and then after turn like 6, this card is literally dead. Don't play Spell Pierce. F. Up next is Suit Up. Suit Up is 2 and a blue for an instant at common. Until end of turn, target creature or vehicle becomes an artifact creature with base power and toughness 4/5. Draw a card. No, you can't make me like these cards. Serpentine Ambush, yada yada. You can't make me like these cards. This one draws a card. You still can't make me like these cards. There's no way I draft this. There's no way I play this. Will I lose to it? Sure, because you'll always lose to some random thing sometimes, but I'll never win with them because I'm never going to play them. F for Suit Up. Up next is Tameshi, Reality Architect. Tameshi is 2 and a blue for a legendary creature, Moonfolk Wizard at rare. It's a 2/3. Whenever 1 or more non-creature permanents are returned to your hand, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. X and a white. Return a land you control to its owner's hand. Oh, that's part of the cost. Then, return target artifact or enchantment card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. So I have to be blue-white. And if I pay X white and I return a land, then I can regrow an artifact or enchantment. This is a commander thing, right? I guess you're regrowing vehicles in blue-white. And then what are you doing when you return that land? You're drawing a card. That's fine. So this is no, because you have to target something in your graveyard. So this isn't even white to draw a card. To the battlefield. This feels like one of those cards that's going to be decent. The first ability triggers when an opponent bounces one of their enchantments as well. Whenever one or more non-creature permanents are returned to hand, draw a card. Yeah, that's true. I don't know. This feels like one of those cards where it's like when it draws 3 cards in a game, it's going to feel amazing. And then there's going to be so many games where it's a 2/3 for 3. I don't know what to think about this card. There's so much that has to go right for you to draw these cards. Like, you have to have artifacts, or yes, if an opponent returns, you know, niche cases out the window. I don't care about niche cases. I talk about average cases. You need to have had artifacts and enchantments, and then you need to have binned them. I guess Mnemonic Sphere. Here's something for Mnemonic Sphere. Eh? My Mnemonic Spheres will be in the graveyard because I drew my cards, and then I can pay white and 2 and return a land and draw a card and put the Mnemonic Sphere back on the battlefield. I'm sure this card is probably good in some situations. I think I'm only playing it in blue-white, but I think there's a lot of steps to make this thing work, and that scares me a bit because that's not what I want to do if I want to win a game of Magic. I want to be consistent and do the things that work. So I'll start out first picking it to give it a try, and then we'll see how good it actually is, I suppose. Up next is Tamiyo's Completion. Tamiyo's Completion is 3 and a blue for an enchantment aura at common. It's a flash. It has flash. Enchant artifact, creature, or planeswalker. When Tamiyo's Completion enters the battlefield, tap enchanted permanent. If it's an equipment, unattach it. Enchanted permanent loses all abilities and doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. Cool. Capture Sphere is good. Play Capture Sphere. Pick Capture Sphere relatively highly. We're talking like third-ish pick. Capture Sphere is good. This is Capture Sphere plus. Up next is Tezzeret, Betrayer of Flesh. Tezzeret, Betrayer of Flesh is 2 blue for a legendary planeswalker, Tezzeret at Mythic. It's a 4 loyalty planeswalker. The first activated ability of an artifact you activate each turn costs 2 less to activate. +1, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards, unless you discard an artifact card. Okay, it's, is that Thirst for Knowledge? Yes. No, not quite, because it's draw 2. -2, target artifact becomes an artifact creature. If it isn't a vehicle, it has base power and toughness 4/4. -6, you get an emblem with whenever an artifact you control becomes tapped, draw a card. Cool. Planeswalkers are good. Planeswalkers are good. This one's pretty good. You have to build around it by playing artifacts. There's a boatload for you to play in blue alone, let alone if you pair this with one of the other colors, as well as the colorless artifacts. First pick Tezzeret. He'll probably do some good work for you. Up next is Thirst for Knowledge. Thirst for Knowledge is 2 and a blue for an instant at uncommon. Draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact card. Thirst for Knowledge is good. We know this. This card has been around for a pretty long time. 3 mana instant speed, draw 3 cards is real good. You want to make sure that you are playing a number of artifacts in your deck, like a good number of artifacts, because you do want to discard 1. You want to draw 2 here. You don't want to draw 1. Lowers crew costs? No. Crew costs don't cost mana. This is 2 mana less to activate. Yeah, Thirst for Knowledge is great. I'll pick this relatively highly. We're talking like 4th-ish pick for Thirst for Knowledge, and then I'm gonna gobble up some artifacts and then draw some cards. Up next is Thousand-Faced Shadow. Thousand-Faced Shadow is a single blue mana for a creature human ninja. At rare, it's a 1/1 with ninjutsu, 2 blue. Return an unblocked attack. Why am I reading the reminder text? It's a flyer. When Thousand-Faced Shadow enters the battlefield from your hand, if it's attacking, create a token that's a copy of another target attacking creature. The token enters the battlefield tapped and attacking. Okay. So you're never playing this as a 1/1 for 1. Never. If you are, you have not read the whole card. But you play this for 2 blue, as long as you're attacking with something else. Actually, can it target itself? It's attacking a token, another target. It cannot copy itself. Yeah, no, this seems really good as long as you're attacking with things, like copying some other really good attacker. I like this. I'll first pick this. It's not quite a bomb, because you have to do some work and you have to be in the right scenario for this to really get nutty. But yeah, I like this quite a bit. First pick for Thousand-Faced Shadow. And that wraps it up for blue. So YouTube, I will see you tomorrow for the black set review. Let me know anything you want to let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you tomorrow.